Alright, so it's been a while since I posted and things have been a little hectic, so I apologize for that. But I wanted to give a little update of what's been going on since I got back to Ghana. And yeah, so I went home for Christmas, which was super awesome. Got to see a lot of people, got to see the family, and it was just really good to be able to go back to America and experience hot water coming from a faucet. And so I was really all about that. And also not having a lot of power outages and stuff, so some pretty great amenities, America. Uh, but anyway, it was really good seeing the people. Thanks everybody who came out to greet me and just welcome me home. I really enjoyed seeing everybody. I didn't get to see everybody that I wanted to see, which is unfortunate. But January 2019 is when I'll be back again. So yeah, so that was awesome. Um, Being back in Ghana has been pretty great. I, I really I enjoy being here. I enjoy that work that I'm doing. Um, at work at Ring, I've been super busy just because we have a lot of stuff going on with our poultry projects that we've been working on. Not to mention dry season is approaching, so we're doing a lot of work to get drip lines installed and help people with leafy green vegetable cultivation. And so it's just been super busy at work, but that's been great. Uh, I was able to go back and visit my community, dropped a few things off there. A friend of mine hooked me up with a computer to take back, which was super awesome because there aren't any computers in my community. So I was able to take that back to my neighbor's family because their son is getting ready to go to high school, and so got to show them like how to work on the computer and things like that. So that was pretty neat. Checked on the volunteer that replaced me. He's doing well. Uh, so I'm excited to see how he's gonna continue the work that I did there and make the service of his own. So that was really exciting. Um, in general, it's just been different in Ghana because all of my friends that I came in with have left the country, so there's only about four of us. So I hope I don't forget anybody. There's only about four of us that ended up extending our service. Five of us that ended up extending our service, but we're actually all pretty spread out for the most part. So it's just been different, being kind of removed from the volunteer community and really submerged into the my work atmosphere and just being engaged at that level. Um, but for the most part, it's been good. I miss my friends that left, but I know they're going on to do bigger and better things. Uh, In addition to that, I've been posting about how a young woman I met here in Ghana is studying in California. She's currently going to community college, but we're trying to help her get transferred into a Ford University right now at Twin Nets. So if you're in California, SoCal, and you haven't had the pleasure of meeting her, you should definitely reach out. She's pretty awesome. We're currently still trying to raise some funds to help pay for school fees and other things like that. So her link is on my wall. So if you want to like that, share that, or even donate, we're not gonna say no. So that's something you can help us out with. Um, in addition to that, something that I've been thinking a lot about is just bureaucracy side of development, which has been kind of interesting. Because in general, when we talk about bureaucracy is supposed to be something that's providing oversight and making sure things are happening the way they're supposed to be happening, right? So that's like making sure that papers are getting signed, making sure that budgets have been approved, making sure that money's being spent well and that corruption isn't something that's taking place. But something that I've also been kind of noticing is that there's a much darker side to development that I don't think a lot of people are that aware of. Specifically, what I mean that is there's a couple of projects that I've been working on where community members were told to make their community contribution of a particular project, and they completed their community contribution, so they're just waiting on other NGOs or waiting on Ring to provide the additional components to that project. And some people have been waiting over 6 months for budgets to be approved for continuation of projects. And what's frustrating about that is really two things. One, the first frustrating component is the fact that when you have a community make these contributions and you tell them that you're coming with something, and they make their contributions and then you never come, they start to lose faith. And when they start to lose faith, it makes it even harder to be able to organize people and get them to come back together so that additional funds can be released or so that projects can continue going. But the second thing that becomes frustrating, or the second thing that's frustrating about that, is also the fact that a lot of the communities that we're working in are vulnerable communities. They're communities that are in some way reliant on this development aid. And so even though in our minds as an NGO or as Westerners, we're thinking that like, oh, we're just doing our due diligence of bureaucracy and we got to sign these papers and this, that, and the other. Meanwhile, every time we have to see a new person about a document getting signed, or every day that goes past where our budget isn't being approved, that means that the communities that we're helping with, they're still suffering. They still don't have access to food, or they still don't have clean water, or it's their livelihoods that, as when bureaucracy gets involved, we become very removed from the fact that we're not working on projects, but we're working with people. And that's something that's been very concerning for me, because I feel like I'm between a rock and a hard place, because I'm trying to advocate for this community that I'm working for, but my hands are tied because we have to wait for a budget to be approved, or we have to wait for this particular government official to come by to make sure that things are going smoothly. And while I understand that there's value in bureaucracy, I just think that there needs to be some type of reality check coming back to the fact that these are people that we're working with, and they're people that are in hardship, and they're people that need solutions now. And I think that there's a bit of a disconnect where we forget about that. And something in particular that I've noticed in Ghana is that what ends up happening is you have all of these NGOs that come and they'll start projects, but maybe the funding runs out, or maybe a project just stops because people moved or the mission changed or whatever. So you'll see all of these half structures being built throughout Ghana, or these half projects that and every time that happens, community members start to lose faith. And they start to wonder, well, is this NGO just making empty promises? Are they actually going to come back? Or is this just another thing that might get started? And I think a part of that is that I've been noticing a lot of development is basically happening within it trends. Development's happening in a way where it's trendy to talk about food security, or it's trendy to talk about water and sanitation, it's trendy to talk about nutrition, it's trendy to talk about letting girls learn, and all these are great initiatives. But what ends up happening is when one of those categories starts to trend, you see more spending and more development being in it, but then it cuts off and it jumps to the next thing that's starting to trend, because that's where the money goes. And there's just a lack of commitment of wanting to see things through and make sure that things are actually happening come to full fruition. And somehow we need to be able to take a step back, and we need to look at that, and we need to say, either find a way to mix all these things together, because every component of development is interconnected. Like, people need economic development, people need food, people need proper nutrition, people need good water and sanitation, people need roads. It's all connected. But the way that development is being currently done is it's a lot of doing one project in multiple communities, so you see partial development happening in all of these areas, but not enough tools and resources to really let the community members take those partial components of development and run with it. It's not always sustainable. And I think we're in a situation where nobody wants to talk about how development is unsustainable, or how development practices they're not sustainable, because we're afraid of funding getting cut for it, and we're afraid that that means that no development is going to take place. But because we're not being critical about the actions that are taking place, it means that we're perpetuating a cycle of poor development. So we need to start getting more critical, and in that criticalness, we need to say, these are the ways to actually come up with sustainable solutions of development, and talk about the money that's needed to do it, rather than just cutting it. But anyway, so that's something that I've been noticing, just those challenges in the bureaucratic side of development. But it's been interesting. There's a couple big projects going on right now, specifically with I'm still working with these poultry projects, really trying to shape and turn that into something that has more of a long-term sustainable plan to it. So that's kind of the most current thing that I'm working on. But yeah, it's been good being back in Ghana. I really like the work that I'm doing. I feel like I have an opportunity to really make some changes on how certain things are being done, and that's exciting. And yeah, so videos have been on the longer side, went on a bit of a tangent, sorry about that. But next month I should have some really interesting updates on a few more of these things that I'm working on this month. But anyway, thanks again everybody that I saw while I was back. Sorry for those that I didn't get to see when I was back. Please check out Antoinette's GoFundMe if you're looking to help donate to a great cause. And hope everybody's well. And I'll make another video for next month. So, talk to you soon.